Hello, and welcome to the Nonprofit Leaders Network podcast. Lauralee Lindholm, founder of Heart for Ethiopia, will be sharing with us today about how a small venture has grown and sent over $500,000 to support work in Ethiopia. Before we jump into that conversation, I'd like to share a little bit about today's sponsor. Donately is the simplest way to take donations online. With no fixed monthly cost or setup fees, it's easy to see why over 1,000 organizations trust Donately to improve their online fundraising. Sign up for free today at donately.com/leaders.
Welcome to the Nonprofit Leaders Network podcast, where your host, KIRSTEN Bullock, interviews nonprofit CEOs and executive directors who share what's working. Show notes can be found at nonprofitleadersnetwork.com. Please add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. Now, let's get on with the show.
Hi, Lauralee. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for asking me.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm excited to hear from you. Lauralee and her husband spent 18 years in Africa as missionaries and working on community development. When they returned to the U.S., they were overwhelmed with how much is wasted here and how much is needed there. So 10 years ago, she put her foot in the water and started selling donated books on eBay. Soon after, they organized Heart for Ethiopia, and since then, they've sent over $500,000 to Ethiopia for rural development. In recognition of their efforts, Lauralee was recently announced as an inaugural winner in eBay's Shine Awards for small businesses. Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
And she was introduced to me by a company called Terapeak, an e-commerce analytics tool that allows her team to correctly list and price inventory to drive traffic to the page. Lauralee, could you kick us off and share a few words about Heart for Ethiopia and the work that you're doing?
Heart for Ethiopia focuses on helping rural education and development through our churches out in the countryside where there's almost no other type of help. And so with a little money, we can make a big impact.
Great. So what are some of the projects that you've helped fund?
We have kindergartens at about, I think, 17 churches right now, and kindergarten isn't like kindergarten in the U.S. It's for children who haven't had an opportunity to attend school at all, and they have to learn the alphabet, which has 256 characters that look like Chinese, and also their numbers and simple arithmetic. So they could be as old as 12 if they have been out being a shepherd or working for the family and never got to go to school before. So there's a big demand, and the reason they didn't get to go to school is because the family didn't have money for uniforms and books and couldn't spare them from working. So we do kindergartens, and then in the same classrooms we teach adult literacy other times of the day, and there are a lot of people who have never learned to read. We do micro-industry, helping people start small businesses like selling vegetables by the road or raising an animal for sale or something like that. And we also do sports ministry with helping, for fun, teenagers be able to play sports activities. We can provide balls and a place to play.
And I know play is a learning forum in itself, teamwork and leadership and all sorts of benefits.
Yes.
In addition to play, which is always important for all of us, I think. Sometimes we forget that as we get older. So when did you first, with Terapeak, and you came back and you were starting to sell things on eBay, when did you realize that it was going to be something big?
Well, of course, everybody starts small. And we started listing a few donated books. Terapeak tells us if they're popular and sellable, and then if they are, how much they have sold for. And that's wonderful because we do what I call reverse auction. We sell them for as much as somebody else sold them for, and we start with that price, and then we go down, down, down until they sell. So it gives us a wonderful starting place, and sometimes we're able to start way up. One we sold for $200 right off the bat, and I would never know that without something like Terapeak telling me what other people have sold them for.
But you probably didn't have that tool when you were first starting out.
Pretty early on. It's available through eBay, And when I first started, eBay does have things for completed listings, and you can look what's sold in the last 3 months and what it sold for. But Terapeak is more efficient than that and has a broader scope. So we switched over when we discovered it.
So great to have access to that tool.
Yes, we wouldn't do near as well as we do without it. Mm-hmm. Because you can't tell by looking at a book. It can look beautiful, and you don't know whether people want to read it or not.
Right.
It has really nothing to do with personal opinion or the look of the book. It's supply and demand.
Mm-hmm. So is that the sole way that you've raised money right now?
It's pretty much, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Some people donate money, and that's nice. That's easy. We don't have to ship them anything. But 95% of our money comes through our eBay store and Amazon store.
And how did you identify the programs that you were going to fund?
I lived in Ethiopia a lot of years, and the churches expressed a need for these things. So it's sort of their call of what they find useful and what they want.
So you provide funding and they let you know what they're going to do with it, or do you sometimes outline the program that you want to see run?
We really need to we need to let them be in the driver's seat. They know what their people need, what works. A lot of time in development programs, Westerners say, this is a wonderful thing. We'll do this for you. And when they stop supervising and funding, it dies. So we want something that'll go on, whether we're there or not, and something that's valuable to them. So they're in the driver's seat.
That's fabulous. I'm sure that you have, looking back, you probably have some stories. Are there some stories that stand out over the last 10 years of a impact perhaps on a particular child or a particular person?
We really don't see the individual children. We did try that for a while, but that was a strain on them to provide individual statistics.
Mm-hmm.
I go out every year and visit some of the programs and oversee and get excited and challenged. And in 2 weeks, I'm going again, and I'm looking forward to that. We have a daughter who grew up in we have 3 children who grew up with us in Ethiopia. And our daughter's a surgeon now, and she hasn't been there for 40 years. So I'm all excited to take her back and let her see the big change, how people's lives have improved, and especially the ones that we are working with. God has made a big difference in their lives, and then having some money to fund the programs has helped too. So there's a lot of wonderful things happening, but I don't think of a particular one right off.
And now, a word from our sponsor. Did you know online donations increased about 8% in 2016? Perfect your donor's experience with Donately so you don't have to miss out on any more donations online. Donately's custom donation forms and focused landing pages are engineered to turn visitors into donors. Sign up today at donately.com/leaders and save $500 on your first 100,000 raised. How about looking back the past 10 years? What do you see as you and your team's biggest success? Something that went really well, you just felt was really blessed?
One thing is that a big percentage of the children who go to kindergarten go on to public school. Their family couldn't spare them from work, and so they never had attended school. But once they go to kindergarten and do well and are excited about learning, then their families let them go to school. So that's exciting that a lot of kids get education. And then people that do these micro industries they get income, and then they tithe and give to their church, and their churches grow. So not only do the people do better, but the churches do better. And they have got enough money together that they're finally building a national headquarters after they started in 1989. And they're just about completing it, and we're excited about that because that's really going to help them with their ministries all over the country.
This next question, success and failure, they're really closely related. A lot of times we try to, though, just look at what goes well and kind of gloss over what didn't go so well. Is there a time over the past 10 years you can look back and say, wow, that's something I never want to do again? Something that just didn't work?
Well, people donate a lot of stuff to us, and some things we saved and tried to list and use in different categories and things. And then periodically I get an aha moment and say, okay, let's throw all those away. And then we did that this week. We had a whole truck full that we got rid of old magazines. We sell a lot of magazines, and people donate them to us, and some kinds sell and some don't. And it takes a while to figure out what works and what doesn't. So I have to be willing to throw stuff away.
That's probably a good life lesson for all of us.
And the odd thing is that this store is based in our home, and that's one reason it works. We don't pay anybody anything, but we have beautiful flowers. We got orchids in 3 windows and flowers outside, and we have birds and squirrels, and it's a happy, pretty place to work. Our house is a bit odd since every single wall has books on it, not only just walls. In our bedroom, we have a freestanding big bookcase right down the middle of the bedroom. But anyway, it's fine to live here, and we have other activities here. We feed people and have meetings and everything, and it's a place people like to come, and I think that's a reason that our charity is a success.
Mm-hmm. So how about with your board of directors? With you being here raising money and the support going to ministries overseas, do you have to work extra hard to help the board stay connected with the mission?
I do, and we send them emails when things happen. This week, the dump in Ethiopia avalanched like a snow avalanche and covered houses and killed 50 people just a half a mile from our headquarters. Some of our church members died, and so I sent that out to our board so they could see. You can't imagine a garbage dump burying people. That just doesn't happen in America. But for them to realize what a basic level things are at and how helping a little can make a big difference to people, to get them in a real house somewhere instead of scraping on the dump. And we not only do updates like that, and then we have our annual meeting, and then several of our board people have visited Ethiopia, and 2 of them are Ethiopians who've come from there, so they help us keep in touch too.
And how have you recruited your board?
We have invited people that we thought might be interested, and they come and sit in on a board meeting, and then afterwards we said, would you like to be on the board? Is this something that piqued your interest? Is this something you want to support? And usually anybody we invite does. They get hooked.
Mm-hmm. And so how do you use your board members? Do they mainly volunteer?
They volunteer some. Mm-hmm. And then we have some that, like an auditor, and who perform functions for us, and some donate. One of them was a general manager, kept all the supplies, the buildings going for his restaurant chain, and they donated things from the restaurant that they no longer were using in decor and so on. So sometimes it's stuff that they give us.
Great. So a lot of different ways that they get involved in.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see as your primary goals moving forward? If you look at 10 years from now, where do you hope that the ministry will be?
Well, actually, we think we're at capacity because it's in a house. Mm-hmm. And so what we're trying to do is help them, if something happened to us, that it would be self-sufficient, that they would go ahead with their ministries there, whether we're sending them money or not. And this new office building, which we've helped them build, is going to have rooms to rent out, which will provide income for them. So that is a source of income that would take the place of what we've been sending them. So there is an end in sight. And the fact is, we're in our late 70s, and I don't know if anybody else will take over and run this or not, like we have. Mm-hmm. That's an unknown.
So as far as helping them be self-sufficient, you have the building that you would rent out. You've helped grow churches, so now there are more people tithing. Are there other things that you're doing to help build that sustainability?
Publicity and encouragement when we go out there and speak to them all and so on. But I think those are the 2 main ways.
And that's always a great focus for any organization to try to figure out if there's a way that we can work ourselves out of a job.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, we'd be able to do that. There's a lot of causes where that's not possible, but it's neat to see it working itself out in your ministry.
Yes.
So what advice would you have to give for anybody who's thinking about starting a nonprofit?
You need to find a cause that people can believe in, that's real and important. And then you need to communicate that well in as many ways as you can. And then I think volunteers are just a real key part in any nonprofit. So you need to get them to buy in and get passionate about the ministry.
And what are some ways that you've helped your volunteers buy into the ministry and get passionate about it?
Well, keep them informed. And that happens on two sides. It's about the stuff that happens in Ethiopia, and they send us letters of thanks and so on, and news, and we share that. But it's also on this end, because we are working on eBay, selling everything. People write amazing letters, notes to us, responses of what they did with the stuff and how they like our ministry. And so we've got some of them posted, and we share them with people too and say, you're part of this. You're helping make this happen.
So any closing words to provide some encouragement or inspiration for our listeners? Studies
say that people with a focus and a passion who work hard live longer. And so I think volunteering adds years to your life, as well as joy, purpose, and happiness. So I think nonprofits are the key to long life and joy in living. Fantastic. Well, Lauralee, again, thanks so much for joining me today. You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me. Oh, you're welcome. And thanks to our listeners for everything you do to make the world a better place.
Thanks for listening to the Nonprofit Leaders Network podcast with KIRSTEN Bullock. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll check out our prior episodes and that you'll pass along our web address, nonprofitleadersnetwork.com, to your friends and colleagues in the nonprofit sector.